God, son, that's...
What's up? It's your boy, Super Hot on Fire, and today we're gonna ask some questions. We're not gonna discuss why theology. Today we're gonna discuss how theology. How do we do theology? Methodology. How it is that we do theology is through methodology. And if that sounds big and scary, no, it's okay. But Theohopracy, what is a methodology? Methodology is how a person approaches their theology. It shapes how one interacts with questions, topics, and how you interpret the Bible. And the goal of methodology is to provide you with the means to be able to practice theology. But Theohopracy, why is methodology important? If you have a poor method, this might lead to some poor theological conclusions. But if you have a good method, you might have some good theological conclusions. Ooh, yes! Clap, clap, clap! Mary Veeneman states the theological method matters because it drives how theological questions are asked and the ways in which texts are read. How those things are carried out will have a direct impact on one's theological conclusion. So, it should be no surprise to you, the viewer, that, do I have a theological method? Do I practice theology? Yeah, you do. So, the question is not about whether or not you're going to have a method, but is your method going to be a good one or a bad one?
In this video,
We're going to try and equip you with some methodological principles and tools for you to be able to do theology all by yourself. Doesn't that sound nice? Doesn't that sound like fun?
Blessed or blessed.
Alright boys, so I moved house since the last segment and the weather's different, not so hot anymore. Anyway, let's move on to the current segment. Do you have a methodology? Think about it. Yes you do. And wouldn't you know that perhaps your theological method is influenced by your historical and cultural location. And as Leslie Big Bad Missionary Newbigin states, the idea that one can or could at any time separate by a process of distillation a pure gospel unadulterated by any cultural accretions is an illusion. Or, in simpler terms, as it states a couple sentences later, there can never be a culture-free gospel. Anyway, I would like to expand on what Newbigin states in respect to the gospel to theology broadly speaking. If you practice theology, you are doing it from a specific cultural context in which you are probably not exactly aware of the varying assumptions you carry into your questions and methodology, which is why methodology becomes important. How is it that you go about doing your theology? Are you just winging it, or do you have a thought-through method? Historically speaking, there have been three methods that the church has used for a very long time until the introduction of Mr. John Wesley, who then expanded onto a fourth method. That is scripture, tradition, reason, and experience. That's the Wesleyan one. These four sources for doing theology is what's called the Wesleyan Quadrilateral. But Theohopracy, I don't need no smelly tradition, reason, and experience when I got my Bible. For John Wesley, scripture was not necessarily enough when trying to settle theological debate. And the thing is, you know that as well in your own life. I know you've been in various theological arguments with your buddies, and you've projectile missiled various passages and verses at each other, sometimes even the same verse, in trying to dispute completely different arguments. And theologians of the past recognize this, which is why they appeal to other sources like tradition, reason, and experience, as well as scripture. As well as scripture.
tradition,
Reason, and experience. And so, as we begin this new series that I want to do with you, how to do theology, we're going to begin by discussing those four sources of theology, which we will now refer to as the Quad. Stop! Hey, what's up? It's your boy, Brr. And I was gonna make the Wesleyan Quadrilateral its own video, but the whole thing was gonna be really large, the research has taken really long, and I wanted to give you the best content I could, and to do that, I'm just gonna cut up the entire Wesleyan Quadrilateral into each authority gets its own video, including the introduction, which you've been watching today. So, if you've been finding my content useful at all, entertaining, a little bit blah blah, enlightening, your mind is just widened ever since you've started subscribing to my channel, then please do consider liking, leaving some comments down below. Tell me whether or not you think I'm a heretic, because I don't think the gospel can ever be without culture. Blah blah blah. All those other generic YouTubery things. Anyway, thank you for doing that for me. I really look forward to leaving my dead-end job. See you.